Okay, so now we're going to look at then compound interest and depreciation. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at is how we're going to do this. Okay, this is not like simple interest where we can't just add up the number of years. There is a set out way to do this, and this will normally always be found on a calculator paper. So I'm going to invest £1,000 at 5% interest for 6 years. Okay, so what have I got? I've got my investment multiplied by 1. So that's the 100% of the value. That's the £1,000 that I'm investing into the bank. The next thing I've got then is 0.5. Well, that's my 5% interest. So the only thing now then I've got to worry about is my 6 years. And in a calculator, we put that in as a power. So that would go here, yeah, in my sum. So my sum's going to look like 1,000 times by 1.05 to the power 6, okay? So looking at my calculator here then, I've got 1,000 multiplied by 1.05 to the power 6, which on here is xy. I've got a little upside down arrow. I'm going to press 6 equals. So at the end of 6 years then, I've got £1,340 and 9 pence. 0.5, we'll round that up to 10 pence. So that equals then, at the end of 6 years, £1,340 and 10 pence. Okay? So looking at another question then. Alice invests £8,000 for 5 years and she gets 2.5% a year compound interest. So again, setting out our sum, we've got our £8,000 times by 100% of the money that's going into the bank. So 2.5% interest, okay? That's not going to be 2.5 because that would be 25% interest, and you're never going to get that from a bank, okay? So we've got a 0, 2, 5. So that is 2.5% interest, and it's going to go in there for 5 years. So that's going to be to the power 5, okay? So again, on our calculator, we've got £8,000 times by 1.025. I'm using this function here. 5 years equals. So at the end of 5 years then, Alice is going to have £9,051 and 27 pence. Slightly different question then. Matt bought a house for £220,000. In year 1, the value increased by 3%, and in year 2, it increased by 2%. What was the value of his house after 2 years? Okay, all we need to do for this one then is the value of Matt's house multiplied by each of the multipliers for each of those years. So again, it's the value of his house currently, which is 1, plus his percentage, and then I can multiply that by the percentage increase for year 2, rather than doing it in step by step. So he bought his house for £220,000. I'm going to multiply it by the whole value of the house and the percentage increase for year 1, and then I'm going to multiply that by the new value of his house and the percentage increase for year 2. Okay, so at the end of 2 years, his house is now worth £231,132. So not too bad after 2 years. So that's compound interest and how that works. Now then, let's have a look at depreciation. Okay? So depreciation is where a value of something goes down. Normally when we talk about depreciation, the classic example is cars. Yeah, so we've all heard that cars lose value the minute you drive it off a forecourt. Okay? So to do depreciation, we're going to subtract the amount it depreciates from 100% of the value. So in this case then, 100% minus the 12% depreciation gives me 88% value left. Okay, we need to convert that into a decimal, okay, which gives me 0.88. So Naomi buys a Fiat 5000 for £11,500. It depreciates by 6% every year. What would it be worth after 5 years? So we've got the value of Naomi's car. It depreciates by 6%. So 100 minus 6 equals 94% of the value. So that's 0.94 now then. So we're going to multiply that by 0.94. And she's kept it for 5 years. So what's it going to be worth now? So that's going to be to the power 5. So again, into our calculator. So she bought the car for 11,500. Our multiplier was 0.94. So that's 100% minus that 6% depreciation. And she's kept it for 5 years. There's my little arrow and there's the 5. So after 5 years, her £11,500 investment will be worth £8,439 and 89 or 90 pence. Another type of question we could have is, instead of houses gaining money, sometimes they lose money when we have a housing slump or something like that. So here Jack bought his house for £350,000. Sadly, there was a housing slump and it loses 2% for the first 3 years. What will it be worth after 3 years? So again, we've got the value of Jack's house, and then we're going to multiply it by our multiplier, so depreciation. So 100 minus 2 equals 98. So the house is only going to be worth 98% of the value. So that equals 0.98. So we're going to multiply that by 0.98. Okay, and it loses money for those first 3 years. So that's going to be to the power 3. So into our calculator then, we've got £350,000, the cost of the house, multiplied by 0.98, that's the 2% loss. And there's my power function for 3 years equals. So at the end of 3 years then, poor old Jack's house is now worth £329,417.20. So that is compound interest and depreciation.